Welcome back.
Coach Corey here, MRDC Ripfest. We're here for another Dryland diving drill. This involves our SlantBoard again. If you remember before, this SlantBoard we have at 25 degrees, and that is a good average degree for most of your divers. Your larger divers may be closer to 30 degrees. Some of your smaller divers may be closer to the 20-degree depression mark. But before we did the forward approach, which had a whole foot balance, a vertical chest, crossed elbows, 12 o'clock, crossed wrists, elbows, 12 o'clock. We're gonna move on to the inward, which is very close to the front, but slightly different with its magic position and balance points. So what we wanna do is we wanna make sure the divers can start off with the correct foot position on the board. We want the strongest base of support possible. A lot of times divers wanna go wide base of support. They think that is a stronger base of support. The strongest that we can get is if we have 3 points of contact. So our toes are going to be a couple inches apart. And what we do with the divers is we have them go up on their toes, raising their heels. Then we have them take their heels and put them together at the top. Once they get them together at the top, they can try to lower their heels and they will feel them smush together by the time they get down to the floor. That is the resistance that we want on the press, so our heels do not drop below the surface of the board, because our divers want to make sure we can maintain a dictionary height underneath the heels for our inward presses. A dictionary height. Okay, let's go ahead and get started for our inward press. I'm going to get into my tripod position, toes apart, 2 to 3 inches. I'm going to go up on my toes, heels together. At this point in time, I want to make sure that my brace is on. Shoulders are square, ears are in line over shoulders, shoulders over hips, hips over heels. Now remember, when the board drops, it becomes shorter. So when we do our squat into the board, we want to imagine squatting into a shorter board. And that's why it's great to work these out on an angle on our SlantBoard, because it gives us that time to hit that position and maintain that position for an extended period of time. That will help our muscle memory. As you can notice, I'm dropping my heels. Heels together at the top, brace on. Everything's in line. Your divers may start arms down, they may start arms at T. We go basic 4-part. Up, down to Y, up to Y. At this point in time, the divers should be at the highest point, palms out, high Y, and the board is changing directions. As the board changes directions, the divers want to soften their knees. We call this the draw. When they soften their knees, their elbows and arms can float down, shoulder level. At this point in time, we want to inlocate the arms to 7. Legs are now stuck in their squat, stuck in their squat. At this point in time, next action is a pull. On inwards, the divers want to bring their elbows pointed up at 12 o'clock, but they do not want their arms, hands crossed behind the head like we did on the fronts. On the fronts, we wanted to try to get as large of an arc as possible. If we start on inwards with our hands behind the center of gravity, then the body has to rotate backwards before it can start spinning. So we need to make sure that the arms can stay on top of the head, but not behind the head on inwards. So, tripod stance. Everything's in position, brace on, glutes on, squared up, down to Y, up, drift and draw, arms come through, inlocate to 7 and finish the sit, boom! From here, we can go through our regular actions, but we want to make sure that our lower back is round at this point in time, and that we're maintaining that dictionary heels. Now, if we're doing an inward dive, we model jump shot. We extend knees, ankles, elbows, and wrists all the way through. If we're doing optional, we're going to go armpit throw. Push, throw. Push, throw. Boom, boom. And everything is done on the short board. So a lot of times divers don't have those heels together, and what they do is when they change directions at the top, they change directions too rapidly with the arms, and what that does is creates action, reaction below the center of gravity, and our feet leave the board, which is called a crow hop. So, to calm down your crow hops, all you have to do is pause at the top of that press, drift and draw, and then you can in-locate and swing. Divers try to do that swing before they drop down into position, so they have to be patient for that. We'll go through these one more time. This is for inwards. Now, we didn't talk about the actual balance points. Once we get dropped down into the magic position, we have 3-point balance that's called shoulders, knees, and toes. Should be in the balance. And now, if you notice, my knees are actually out in front of my toes, more in a vertical line. But if your knees do not extend out in front of your toes on an inward takeoff, you will not own your inwards. Your knees cannot be back over the feet or over the heels. That's where those heels are dropping, hips are out. Gotta have those knees in front of the toes, and if you can do that, you can own your inwards. Race on. Inward, optional. Up, down to wide, up to wide, drift and draw. And locate. Finish the set with the arm swing to the top. Pull. Push, drop. Model. Check. 1, 2.5. So you can add a modeling onto the end of these dives, finishing the dives, lining up these dives. But for the inwards, tripod stance, dictionary heels, knees in front of toes, shoulders, knees, and toes, and you can own your inwards. I hope this is going to help you with your inward takeoffs. This is Coach Corey with MRDC. We will see you again.